Maisie is the member of the Youth Parliament for North Devon and has taken time away from school today to be with us, which is, a huge thank you for dedicating that time to share your thoughts with us, Maisie. Without further ado, if you're there, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Maisie Ross and I'm the Youth Member of Parliament for North Devon. I'm 15 years old, which you might be surprised to know, and I'm in year 10, currently in full-time state education. Apart from today, I've taken the day off school to come here. I'm super passionate about education reform, really as a whole. I kind of joined in this youth activism whole thing because I can see so many problems as a young person growing up in a society so plainly in front of me. I don't see those solutions and those conversations about what's happening. So my role as the youth MP is to represent young people's voices in my area and get those conversations started on the problems that for young people is so plainly in front of us when you just can't see those solutions. Ask young people from all across the moment. So the results from trends that most concerns young people and education, and this is kind of where I'm coming from today. So for me, transforming education screams a more specifically accessible education system, a more flexible education, because from what I can see, our education system needs to change right now. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So currently, the education system is super rigid, and it's the same everywhere. For all young people, we're all being put through the same factory of school like robots. Yet all young people are different. All young people are unique and good at some things and bad at some other things. Some young people have special needs and learning difficulties, but we're trying to push everyone through this same system. And I've used the idea before of a rainbow of young people, and we're trying to put them all through this yellow tunnel, and only the yellow can get through, but we're trying to squeeze all these young people and change them all to become yellow when that's not what they are, but they have to get through this school and get out the other end. The current education system was actually developed in the industrial period to pour out factory workers, and still today that's what school teaches us. When I found this out, I can actually so clearly relate this with my own schooling, that we're not taught to be bosses and we're not taught to be directors of companies like Jack was saying earlier. We're taught to just be factory workers and follow the rules, yet that's not what society needs at the moment. And our society has developed so much from the industrial period, of course, but let's think about it physically. For example, think of an industrial period car. Actually, they didn't even call it a car. It was an automobile. Henry Ford's first car. You can Google it later if you want. But if you don't even need to know what it looks like to know that it must be completely different to a modern day Tesla, for example. But then actually think about an industrial period classroom and compare that to a modern day classroom, and the differences are very small. I know it's just the physicality of the education, but actually I think that says a lot about our education system and how much we need to change and how much we are not preparing our future leaders for the society that they're going into. So the system that we're putting everyone through, as I was saying earlier, works for a select few people who are good at writing essays and sitting in a quiet classroom for 6 hours a day. For the rest, it's kind of failing our young people, our future leaders. We have a right to education, and that right shouldn't be just sitting in the school and that's the end of it. That right should be society's responsibility and opportunity to make the best and most useful education for us. So as teenagers and as young people, we're developing and we're growing so much. So society has this amazing opportunity to develop young people to how you almost want us to be and teach us what we need to know. But that opportunity is currently being wasted for so many young people. And this issue is actually quite personal to me, as I have 2 sisters who conventional education system does not work for at all. And I see many kids in my school who really struggle and have a bad time. They're very clever, but just not academically. School just doesn't work for them. So this issue is something that I can see right in front of my eyes every day. And then at the end of this schooling, at the end of all these years at GCSE level, 5 years of education, you have one day to sit a written exam, one day where you receive a number on a piece of paper that accounts for 5 years of learning at GCSE level. And as we've seen during the pandemic, this doesn't always work. And I think the pandemic, kind of having to scrap those written exams, has shown how useless they almost are, because we're so revolved around these exams. But actually, are they the right way of assessing people? And I don't think so. The current exam system actually requires young people to fail for that small proportion to succeed. So for the exam system to work, we are setting up young people to fail, which I don't know about you, but I look at that and that is completely wrong. We are putting young people through a system where they are setting up to fail. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So what are my solutions for all these problems? Well, ideally, I'd love a total education reform, but that's not entirely possible at the moment. So some ideas that I came up with, I'm not a professional and I don't really know, but give some teachers more power. Ideally, scrap Ofsted and school league tables, because that's what school is so revolved around. It's not enriching young people for their lives. It's making sure that your school is higher up in the school league tables, and it's making sure you get a good Ofsted report. But it's totally backwards, and it's actually not helpful. More flexible classrooms. So if we go back to what I was saying about the physicality of classrooms, if we want a more flexible, more accessible education system for all young people to work for everyone, then simply by changing the seating of the classrooms, the way it looks, not having desks and chairs in rows, then we can make the education system work for more people. So simply by letting some people sit on the floor or sit on beanbags or sit outside, you might not think that that's going to make much of a difference, but actually for so many young people that will really help them. And I think once we take those first steps into a more flexible education, then more young people can make the most out of their useful education system that currently isn't doing what it needs to do. And then obviously some kind of life skills lesson. I don't mean PSHE. I have PSHE in my school. I have it 1 hour every 2 weeks. And let me tell you that that does not do what it needs to do to prepare me for society and for life at the moment. But the actual content of the curriculum is a whole other subject I could talk for days on. So I'll try not to bore you with that. What I'd like to leave you with is going back to those exams that your entire schooling is based around. What we've become so obsessed with because of Ofsted and because of the school league tables is the exams. You don't learn things to understand them and to develop new skills and have them in later life. You learn to answer exam questions. But skipping changing the way we assess people, do we even need this assessment? And for you as business owners and influential people, do you think that those exams and that assessment is something that you look at when you're employing a person? And is those exams actually useful? Because our schooling is so revolved around them. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today, that question. Thank you.